What do you usually say when people interrupt you when you're speaking? Do you know what to say? Do you know what to say if your boss interrupts you? What if a colleague interrupts you? If you are looking for answers, you are in the right place, because in this video, we are going to learn how to deal with interruptions when other people interrupt you. Are you ready? Let's get started. We are going to look at this topic again from two different angles: less formal and more formal situations. And we will start with less formal, which means that you can use these phrases when you talk to colleagues, when you talk to friends. You want to be polite, of course, but also you don't have to be so formal, because then it would sound weird, and we don't want that. How would you normally do that in Spanish? I have one option for you. How would you translate that directly, literally, into English? Well, my option would be, wait, I'm almost done. Wait, I'm almost done. And this alternative can work in English. That sounds quite normal, quite clear, and depending on the context, you could literally say that. Be careful with the word wait, because you can say, wait, I'm almost done. Wait, I'm almost done. Your tone, your intonation changes, and with that, you sound more like a nice person. How about this phrase? How would you say this phrase literally in English? My idea is, wait, let me finish if you don't mind. Again, this phrase can work absolutely fine in English. Just be careful with the tone of how you say this phrase. How about this phrase? In English, I would say it, let me finish this first. And again, it works quite well in English. One more phrase that I would like to teach you to use when you want to deal with interruptions is, hold on, let me just wrap this up quickly, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts. So if your level now allows you to say this word, to remember, to understand, to memorize this phrase, go ahead. If your English is still not very, very, very advanced, forget about this phrase, right? But let's try to understand. Hold on. Let me just wrap this up quickly. Wrap up means finish. And then I'd love to hear your thoughts. And the second part, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts, we can use it pretty much with any of the phrases that we've mentioned already. So if you like this phrase, but it looks a little too complicated for you, remember to go to the mirror and practice it. First, you read it out loud, read it more and more and more. Then you start saying it. Don't worry about perfect grammar. Just say it the way how it feels. Natural, okay? Until it flows. Okay, moving on. Great question. Let me get through this part and then we can dive into that. Another complicated phrase. Awesome phrase for you to deal with questions when people interrupt you to ask questions. So now we have these 5 phrases for you to deal when people interrupt you and you want to stop them from that. Choose one, the one that you love the most, and use it until it feels very natural, and then move to the next phrase. Now let's dive into more formal environments and let's see how you can level up the formality level of your phrases. Remember that as a general rule, we would want to avoid phrasal verbs, right? Because some of them are actually formal. But if you are not very sure which ones are formal and which ones are not very formal, avoid them altogether until you learn them, and then one by one you can incorporate them into your speech. At the moment, let's try to use normal verbs. They will sound formal. And here's a quick tip. Lots of Spanish words that you use every day can help you sound more formal. For example, if you say recuperate instead of recover in a formal environment, that can sound very, very nice. Take advantage of Spanish. Don't ignore it. So, formal phrases. So I have just one Spanish phrase that occurred to me like on this very high formal level, and it's this one. So how would you literally translate this phrase into English? My idea is this one. If it seems, let me finish this part. Does it look fine for you? I hope you said no, because that does not look fine. This little phrase does not exist, if it seems. What we do instead, we use the word if you please. We have other alternatives, but for this particular context, you could say, if you please, let me finish this part. And here I have another phrase for you in English. If you don't mind, could we come back to your point in just a moment? This part, if you don't mind, is the key here. That's leveling up your formality immediately. And this phrase is great for you to practice as well. If you don't mind, could we come back to your point in just a moment? Very formal, very great for you. All right, one more phrase for you. Thank you for bringing that up. I'll address your question as soon as I finish this section. Look at the phrases that we have here. They are much longer than the phrases that we used when we were talking in a not so formal environment. Now, when it's formal, we add more words. Bring up is a phrasal verb, but formal phrasal verb. We can use it in formal speech. Memorize it. That can be your first phrasal verb for your formal settings. Pick one of these phrases, the one that you love the most, and practice it, implement it in your speech. That will be a great start for you to start speaking very formally. And then you use the same phrase for all the conversations. Who cares? They will never notice. And you, when you get tired of using the same phrase, you can switch to the next one. So before we finish, I would like you to look at two phrases that I do not recommend you to say when somebody interrupts you and you want to stop them from that. First phrase is this one.
Don't interrupt.
Don't interrupt. I mean, if you are angry, sure. If you want to fight, sure. Don't interrupt. But if you want to be polite, do not say that phrase. And one more for you is...
Stop interrupting.
Stop interrupting. Also not the best. And the last thing for this class is a little test. Here is a phrase for you. Some words are missing. So I would like you to think and finish the sentence. Please write your ideas in the comments down below. I want to see how well you learned the material of this lesson. If needed, I will correct your sentence. If your sentence is good enough, clear, and I can understand what you're saying, I will salute you for that, my friend. Download the PDF that I prepared for you. There are phrases for interrupting people, for deal with interruptions, and there's an exercise for you to practice it all by yourself. And that's all for now. See you in the next video.